All right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we'll be previewing week 6 of the NFL season. There's a chill in the air out. It's chilly out. There's crazy. It's already week 6. I cannot believe it's already here, but how are you guys?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It feels good to be back. You guys always record way too late. It's just I'm always hella tired, but I had to get back on. And yeah, it's crazy. We're already in week 6. We're into buys, starting last week, so that sucks, especially for fantasy reasons. But it's good to be back in the pod with the boys.
Yeah, Shane, if you wanna play with the big boys, you got to eat like the big boys. This is a late night pod, baby. We go all night, baby. We talk football all night long. It's good to have the three of us in here. It's fun to have the discussions and the argument. And I'm excited to talk about this podcast. It's been a crazy 5 weeks so far, and getting into week 6 is probably going to be no different.
Yeah, good to have you back, Shane, and congratulations. You are the week 5 picks champ. So you and Stores are tied right now with the lead in picks. So I got to do better today.
Shane, you can put the crown emoji on your head if you want. It's a classic Stores move, but
I don't think he knows how. Only Stores knows how to do that.
Yeah.
I'll do it for myself.
How did you do that so fast?
Because I'm snazzy. I'm very tech savvy. I'm the one that does all the editing and everything for this podcast.
Yeah, our editor, Josh. But all right, if you guys want to get into our game recaps, I gotta get my record straight. I gotta bounce back.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, we'll get on to the Thursday night football game. The Broncos are going to go into Kansas City and play the Chiefs. You can pretty much go ahead and lock this one in as your ass beating of the week.
Barf.
Yeah, Barf, it's going to be a ass beating. And since there's not really an analysis to give on this game, like, what do you guys think the Broncos should do with their stars? Do you think they should have a fire sale? What do you think they should do?
Dude, it's hard at this point to even like it seems like such a disaster. And when you go out and trade a first round pick for a head coach and you're starting out like this, it's just quite embarrassing. I mean, you go and get a head coach for a first round pick when you're like thinking Super Bowl. And so like it's all gone downhill. It's such a dumpster fire mess. And honestly, I don't know, because it's like, do you want to trade your stars like Patrick Surtain? I wouldn't. But maybe there's certain pieces they could move off of, try and collect some more picks, try and get younger in a sense. So maybe if there's some older aging stars, I don't know. I wouldn't mind moving off of like a Cortland Sutton. I definitely would want to keep Judy and Sertan and build around those guys. I wouldn't even mind trading Javante. He can't really stay on the field. This McLaughlin guy is absolutely electric. I want him to be the starter right now and in the running back room. But yeah, the Broncos are just a mess. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the Chiefs don't really have to have a good team because they're Patrick Mahomes, so they'll just like win no matter what. But I don't know. If you're the Broncos, I just try and get younger and move off of some of the older pieces at this point and just tank for a quarterback at this point, because I don't know, Russell Wilson just doesn't seem to be it. Even though he's amazing, he's old and he's got a big contract, and the Broncos got to get younger.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Like, we should definitely be getting rid of Sutton. 100% he needs to be gone. Simmons probably should be gone just with his age. I know he's only, I think, 27, almost 28, but still, I think Simmons would be a good trade candidate. And then, yeah, Judy, it's sounding like he kind of wants to get traded. He followed the whole Panthers team apparently, and Broncos country made a big deal out of that. So we'll see what happens with Judy. But yeah, I think Sertan is the one that's off limits. So he'll be there for the rebuild no matter what.
I think the only thing I would say is I want to see Jerry Judy on a different team for fantasy reasons. I feel like we haven't seen his full potential. I want to see him on a different team to see what he can do. I don't know. It seems like he just hasn't been unleashed yet.
Yeah, to be completely honest, Judy did come into a situation that just wasn't great to him. And he came into a Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater situation in his career, and it just never really. And the Broncos offense has never been friendly to receivers. So it's just a mess for him. And the Broncos are a mess. And yeah, the Chiefs are gonna pummel the Broncos if you didn't get the memo. We haven't really talked about the game, but yeah, the Travis Kelce's gonna be playing, I'm sure. T Swift will be there on this primetime game, so the Chiefs will be fired up.
I hope she's not. I really hope she's not.
We all agree on this one. You don't need to watch Thursday Night Football this week, boys. So just move
Chiefs,
on.
Chiefs 38, Broncos 9.
Yeah, and you know what? I haven't seen like 5 million tweets saying that she's going to be at this game tonight. So that she actually might not be there. I don't know.
Wait for the Adam Schefter report.
All right. With that, we'll move on to the London game. It's kind of a random London game, but the Ravens are going to play the Titans in London. The Ravens are 4-point favorites. And these two clubs, since we're in London, we'll use clubs, have been pretty good. They both interestingly lost to the Colts, which is super random. I feel like neither of these teams should have lost to the Colts, but they did. But both these teams have been a little bit inconsistent, but they're solid teams and good AFC matchup. Lamar's been great this year. He kind of outplayed Pittsburgh for 55 minutes in the game last week, and he still lost. But yeah, Lamar's been great, and the Titans have been very inconsistent, but they've got potential.
I mean, for Lamar, he's looked really good. Last week, the sole reason they lost that game was because how terrible the entire receiving core was. They dropped three. I think there's 3 total touchdowns. 1 to Bateman, 1 Mark Andrews drop, and I think Aguilar's was going to be a touchdown that went right through his hands. Zay Flowers had some bad drops. Mark Andrews
Flowers was pretty bad too, which is
they had some very bad drops. Hopefully we see a bounce back this week. This is kind of scary week for, if you got any of the Ravens running backs off the waiver wire. It's kind of a scary week against this Titans rush defense. Granted, I guess if your name is Zach Moss, it doesn't matter who you play. You just go off against everyone. But yeah, I do think the Ravens win this one. Hopefully the receiving core, preferably Zay Flowers, steps it up this week.
And I just get on I just want to see Will Levis play. Ryan Tannehill is going to be the starter probably for a little while longer, but I'm on board with I want something exciting for Tennessee. I feel like they're just so dull and boring. And for that reason, I have to go with the Ravens. Lamar's too electric, but I want to see Will Levis play. I feel like he would make. I don't know. Nothing's probably even better than Ryan Tannehill because he's probably not. But I just feel like it'd be more electric and more fun, and it'd add some excitement to the Titans, who I feel like are just really boring to watch. But they're just.
Can I break your heart real quick?
Break my heart.
Because Will Levis isn't going to play for a long time. Because Malik Willis is their backup because he's just kind of outplayed him. He outplayed him in camp and he outplayed him in the preseason. And Malik Willis does look like someone I would be intrigued to start over Ryan Tannehill, because Malik Willis is someone that a defense can have a hard time game planning against. And Malik Willis looked like he's developed a lot. He looks a lot more mature and better. And I know kind of the same thinking with Will Levis. Both of them obviously have insane upside and way higher than Tannehill. But yeah, it's going to be Willis over Levis first.
Oh man, I just can't take Malik Willis seriously after last year's performance. But I mean, it would be interesting. I just feel like Ryan Tannehill is probably the most boring quarterback in the NFL right now. And I feel like the Titans will never be exciting until he's gone. But I don't know. Tajay Spears is actually looking like a dog, kind of like a Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott type situation. It seems like we're moving into with these two. But I don't know. The Ravens, they should have won probably last week in Pittsburgh. They're going to be pissed off and angry, and so I'm going to take them in this one. But let's get on the train for getting Ryan Tannehill out of the NFL.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens in London as well. They outplayed the Steelers for 55 minutes, like I said last week. They're going to be pissed off. I like Justice Hill. I think he's going to have a good week, even against this Titans run defense. So yeah, give me the Ravens, and I guess you guys don't have to wake up early and watch this London game because we all got the Ravens.
Wow, 2 sweeps in a row. All right, don't watch this one.
All right, we'll get on to the first of the 1:00 games. Pretty electric matchup. The 49ers are going to go into Cleveland and play the Browns. The Niners are 7-point road favorites, and the Niners are just steamrolling everyone in their path. So that's a very deserved line. I'm sure it'll go up. And I guess it's just kind of wait and see if Deshaun Watson plays in this one or if PJ Walker plays in this one. So that'll be interesting. Thankfully, it's not going to be DTR for Browns fans' eyes' sakes. He didn't really look ready. But yeah, I think enough talking about the Browns. That no matter who's playing, the Niners are just rolling over everyone, and they're just too insane of a team right now.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Whoever the quarterback is, that's a shame. That poor fella. It's going to be pretty ugly. I mean, there's not really much else to say. This is going to be probably a beatdown by the Niners.
Yeah. So what's our thoughts on Brock Purdy? He's just super elite, or is it the team that makes him really good? I mean, because I feel like Brock Purdy's really good, but how would Brock Purdy play on a different team? That's
Brock
the
Purdy is
question I need answered.
Brock Purdy's probably a top 5 quarterback in the NFL for a Shanahan offense. So it's just a perfect situation. He's so good at extending plays. His pocket presence is actually really good. He's so athletic in the pocket. So I think it's just so perfect for the 49ers offense. And Shanahan obviously knows that. And I think it makes him like at least a top 15-ish quarterback in the league just because of how good he is in that system. He plays like a top 5 quarterback every game against the Cowboys defense. It doesn't matter who it is. He's a smart guy and he'll be on time and on target.
He is quarterback 8 in fantasy right now, which is kind of crazy.
It's crazy.
He's really I mean he's excelled in the Shanahan offense really better than anyone, and the 49ers are just absolutely steamrolling everyone. They just are so on fire. This team is just scary at this point, and I think we've been teasing the power rankings coming out. We should be having one come out here pretty soon, but I'm pretty positive our consensus number one will be the team in the red that we're talking about right now, because I mean their defense, their run game, their receivers, I mean just all around the best team in the NFL, and it's pretty amazing to watch. And they're scary. I mean, what they just did to the Cowboys was no joke, and the poor Browns having to face them right now, when they're just rolling, and the whole team seems to be healthy too for the most part. So their injury luck is great. I mean, the whole team's just rolling, and if it's DTR, I'm sorry. You're going against this. I hope it's Watson, but if it's DTR, I'm sorry, because he's going to get absolutely pummeled. And how are you feeling about any fantasy options on the Browns this week?
Yeah, I was gonna say even if Watson plays, you could maybe start Cooper, but everyone else needs to be benched. Elijah Moore, the running backs, they all need to be benched this game.
Yeah, you can't play any of them. I mean, and on the flip side, the Browns do have a very good defense, but I don't think that matters too much for this Niners offense.
Yeah. Like Storr said, the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. That can't even really be argued right now, and they should easily have their way in Cleveland. We'll get on to the next 1 o'clock game. It's
3 in a row, 3 sweeps in a row. Wow, we're on one today.
Yeah, don't watch that game. Don't watch any of the first 3 games, I guess. But we'll get on to the next game. The Saints are going to go into Houston and play the Texans, and the Saints are 1.5-point road favorites. And this is an insanely close matchup. Like it's so hard to pick. The Saints coming off a big win, the Texans coming off a close loss, kind of a back and forth game. But CJ Stroud was still a positive in the game. But the Saints defense looks great. I think this will be the first time that CJ Stroud does have kind of his first problems in the league. I definitely do see the Saints and Dennis Allen kind of just sending everybody. And I think the Texans offensive line may struggle, but it's an insanely close matchup. One of the harder ones to pick this week.
Over under, actually I won't word it like that. Will this be the game CJ Stroud gets his first interception?
I think it is. I have a feeling.
All right, I'm gonna say
or fumble. I'm gonna say turnover. I'm gonna say turnover at least.
He hasn't even fumbled it, has he? Huh?
I don't think so.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. This Saints defense is going to be playing with their heads on fire, and I think it is his toughest opponent yet. Man, I don't want to bet on him throwing an interception. I wanted to keep going. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, but I think he's going to get sacked a lot. I think he might make some stupid, maybe throwaway penalties and stuff. But I don't want to bet on him throwing an interception, because I don't think he will.
That's fair. He doesn't look like a rookie quarterback at all, and Bobby Slowick's scheming up a great offense right now, so it's fair.
And then, how are we feeling about Texans receivers we're going to be starting this week?
Is Tank Dell still in concussion protocol? Do we know?
Yeah, it looks like he's in concussion protocol. I honestly don't know if he's on pace to play. Concussions are always hard.
Especially with after all the Tua stuff last year. Typically, if a guy is in concussion protocol, he's going to miss a week. Especially
a rookie like him. I don't really expect him to play, and Nico Collins will probably go off this week.
It's a shame someone on here just traded away Nico Collins.
To all the listeners, traded Nico Collins and Josh Jacobs for Cooper Kupp. So if you feel so free to comment on the trade, let me know. Let me know how you think I did. I'm very nervous. Cooper Kupp looks like he's picking up wide receiver 1 type stats already in his week 1, where he's probably limited a little bit. So I'm feeling fairly confident, but I'm sad to see Nico Collins go, because that dude is so electric, and him and CJ Stroud are probably going to go for 40 points this week. So start him. I mean, it's going to be crazy, but you know what? In this game, I'm rolling with the Texans. I think CJ Stroud and them are pissed off from that close game last week. And I just don't think the Saints offense, I mean, last week they did click against the Patriots, but the Patriots have just looked so bad. And I think the Texans are going to come in here and give them a whooping. And I think CJ Stroud is just going to show that defense that he's not a rookie, and he's a mature veteran at this point in the NFL. And he's not going to make any mistakes. Nico Collins is going to go for 3 touchdowns. It's going to be a big game for the Texans. So it pains me to say.
I have the Texans too. I'm kind of a big fan of the Texans this year. I love D'Amico Ryans. I love CJ Stroud. I love what they've been doing. And I think it'd be awesome if they I don't know if they make the playoffs, but if they have a great record and then they still pull off the number 1 overall pick from the Panthers, I think that'd be just a great story. So the Texans, they're a fun team this year.
Yeah, the Texans are a very fun team, but I am going to go with the Saints. It feels like the Texans' injuries are kind of piling up at this point, and the Saints D could give Stroud some of his first problems, and they looked pretty good last week. So I'm going to go with the Saints, but it's going to be a great game.
Dang it, Dan, you're ending the streak. We're all on the same page.
Yeah, I'm the lone dog with that one.
All right, so I guess you got to tune into this one. Just want to throw out a funny story. When I first met Shane, he was a Texans fan.
Back in was not a Texan.
Watson days.
Okay,
he was a Deshaun Watson fan. That's even worse.
Yeah, he was a Deshaun Watson fan on the Texans, and he got married, and he switched his loyalty to the Steelers.
You botched that story so hard. First of all, we met like 13 years ago, not that long ago, like 9 years ago. And second, the only reason I liked the Texans was because I had Deshaun Watson in like 2019 in fantasy, and he was like top 3 quarterback. Gosh,
Texans fan. Oh yeah, and the first time we did meet was it was a long time ago. I beat Shane in basketball at some random park. And he was like 6'7".
And real quick, Shane, Josh asked me this last week, but are you worried about Chris Olave, or are you buying Chris Olave right now?
Oh yeah. Let's hear it.
I'm not worried. He's definitely worth a buy, but at the same time, if I had him, I think I would just be holding him. I wouldn't be getting rid of him. He's in a little slump. Last week he got saved by a touchdown, which he could do on any given game. It's been disappointing, but I'm holding him. If I can buy him, great. But if I have him, I'm holding him.
All right. And with that, we'll get on to the next game. The Seahawks are going to go into Cincy and play the Bengals, who are 2.5-point home favorites. And this one's also a really hard one to pick. It could easily go either way. You got the Bengals coming off a really good performance in Arizona. Joe Burrow did look a little bit injured still, but he did look like old Joe Burrow. He was evading pressure. He was looking at multiple options, and Jamar Chase just took the game over. And it's going to be fun to see Jamar Chase versus this Seahawks corner duo. And the Seahawks defense has been playing better, and the Seahawks offense is just really consistent, and they just keep coming. And so I think this is going to be a great back and forth game. It's hard to pick.
I was torn on who I was picking this game. Ultimately, I ended up going with the Bengals. Just it comes down to Joe Burrow. Last week he proved. I kept saying you got to bench him if you have him. Last week he proved he's back. Looks healthier. So I think going forward, if you have him, you're playing him. And if he just keeps hyper targeting Jamar Chase like that, I mean that was clearly the problem. That's why they weren't winning. Give the ball to your best player. It's kind of an obvious solution. I'm going with the Bengals in this one, even though I love the Seahawks. I'm a big fan of them, but I think the Bengals are going to start getting on a roll here.
Yeah, when Jamar Chase was so pissed off, he's in the locker room. He's like, "Pardon my French, but I'm always bleeping open." And that's when Joe Burrow's like, "Shit, I have to target this guy."
Notice how when wide receiver ones throw a fit, they start getting the ball. And you saw AJ Brown. You've seen Stephon Diggs do it. Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I mean, in right reasons. I mean, Jamar Chase is not getting targeted enough, and he showed why he needs to be targeted. And he apparently is always open, because he was on that one 75-yard bomb or whatever the heck that was. That was nuts. I mean, he absolutely toasted the corner. But yeah, we talked a lot of heat on Joe Burrow. Telling him bench Joe Burrow. Until he proves us otherwise. And, we talked heat, and he did. with that said, I'm not gonna roll with Joe Burrow 2 weeks in a row, especially against Devon Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, and this Seahawks defense with Bobby Wagner. So give me the Seahawks. I think they're gonna come in here. They're gonna hush the Bengals up. The Bengals are feeling all cocky and all sweet because they beat the Cardinals. Who cares? In my opinion, give me the Seahawks and give me a butt whooping. I'm thinking like 28-6. Another no touchdown game for Joe Burrow. I'm calling it right now.
Tell us how you really feel. Dang.
Yeah, I don't think Josh
That's
likes.
how I feel right now. Late night talks. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I don't think late night pod Josh likes Burrow too much, but I don't know. This one's got me so torn because, like you said, the Bengals could just come back down to earth after that big performance and just kind of drop a stinker, but they are in Cleveland. Oh, it's so tough. I'm gonna go with the Bengals. Like I said, like Shane said, Joe Burrow kind of proved us wrong last week.
Cincinnati.
Yep. I'm gonna go with the
I
Bengals.
I gotta correct you.
Wait, what did I say?
What did he say?
He said they're in Cleveland.
Oh, Ohio. Still Ohio, still the same state, so that doesn't count. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. I think that they showed enough last week. Their offensive line does scare me. I think it's gonna be really back and forth, so it's almost impossible to pick. It's like whoever has the ball last. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bengals.
All right, write Geno Smith off. He's not gonna write back though.
Never. The man that keeps coming. But
yes, sir.
Speaking of the man that keeps on coming up, Gardner Minshew's revenge game. We'll get on to the Colts, who go into Jacksonville and play the Jaguars. The Jags are 4-point favorites, and yeah, it's a Gardner Minshew revenge game. Who's definitely a top 32 quarterback in the league. I'm excited for him to get this opportunity. I think he's a solid quarterback. Hopefully, he can put that on film and get traded and start somewhere. But yeah, it does suck. Anthony Richardson's could miss up to 8 weeks. That just absolutely sucks. You hate to see that. He's such a fun player. Like I said in our last podcast, I'd like to see him never run the ball again because he's such a good passer and he doesn't really need to, and he just takes so much hits. But yeah, the Colts have been great. They're a tough team. They're playing pretty much every team really well. They beat the Ravens. So, and I feel like the Colts always play the Jaguars really, really tight as well. It's just kind of an AFC South thing. But yeah, the Jaguars are coming off a pretty big win pretty statement win over the Bills, who were kind of crowned as the best team in the NFL before last week. So it's going to be a good matchup, and the Jaguars are coming in hot.
For starters, Gardner Minshew has got to get a different helmet. That has to be the ugliest helmet I've ever seen.
He's like a kicker.
Does not fit him. Yeah, the Colts looked good so far. It's really disappointing, especially as a Anthony Richardson manager like myself, that he's going to be out for quite some time. I wish he would have taken Trevor Lawrence's advice to protect himself. He didn't. So that's a shame. So yeah, we're going to be without him for a while. But Gardner Minshew's just fine. I think all those weapons are going to be just fine with a guy like Gardner thrown to them. And the Jags they've coming off 2 good wins over there in London, back-to-back weeks. I think this is going to be a pretty good game, but I do have the Jags in this one. Travis Etienne has looked outrageous. I guess I should have stayed how I felt on him earlier back in June when we did our way too early rankings, and then I kind of switched up.
Yeah, let's just shout out Etienne real quick because he's forced the most missed tackles in the NFL this year, more than Bijan, more than any other running back. So just respect Etienne. He's kind of proved us all wrong. He's been a badass.
And respect Zach Moss. That dude's kind of he's been balling out. It's going to be interesting to see how much more Jonathan Taylor gets worked in. Maybe it's just a 50-50 with how good they got, but it can't be with the money that they're paying Jonathan Taylor. So I'm sure we see a much bigger workload for JT this week.
Yeah, apparently Zach Moss is the best running back in the NFL last week, but I'm sure JT will be worked in a lot.
Minshew magic, man. It's a real thing. The dude's electric. And I honestly think the Colts are just going to pick up just fine. I mean, obviously, you've seen Minshew go in there. He picks up the offense like it's just nothing. He goes in there and they win the game. So I don't know. In a way, I almost think Minshew, I don't think he's a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson, but I feel like right now for the Colts, he might even be a better option. I feel like they just play better under him. That might be because he's a veteran. But I really like Minshew. And this game's going to be a real nail biter. I mean, two AFC South teams playing each other, division rivals. It's going to be a lot closer than we think. I mean, I think all of us and most NFL fans will just think, oh, yeah, this would be an easy win for the Jaguars. But these guys always play each other tough. And it was really hard for me to choose. However, with the beatdown that the Jaguars gave the Bills last week, I just can't pick against them. Like Danny said in the last podcast, Trevor Lawrence was just playing so surgical. ETN was on fire. Josh Allen on the defense were just looking amazing. I mean, what they did to the other Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs still had a good game, but to that offense, they pretty much shut him down for the most part, and kept it a low scoring game. And I'm just gonna have to ride with the Jags in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ride with the Jags as well. Coming off that big statement win against the Bills, you kind of have to at home.
Question: Are you? I mean, I know we were just talking about this, but I mean, would you feel comfortable starting Zach Moss? It's like a flex play.
No, I don't think anyone started Zach Moss last week. If you did, you're probably lying. So I don't think so.
Sure.
I mean, I'm
Well,
sure JT will be worked in more.
I am in one of my leagues. Wait, did I play? Hold on. Yeah, I benched Zach Moss last week, but now this week I don't. In this league, I don't have Devon Achan. So, do I play Zach Moss or do I play Miles Sanders?
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's honestly, I feel like I don't feel like Jonathan Taylor's still ready for a full workload.
I have Zach Moss in right now.
He's like projected like 10.5 points too. So I don't know. After last week's performance, can you just really not beat him? Like surely he splits carries this week.
It has to get more of a 50-50, if not more favorable into JT side of things.
Yeah, honestly, that's really hard. I don't know who I would choose. It's tough. I mean, Miles Sanders will probably get more of the volume, but he's not very electric when he touches it, so it's tough.
Yeah, that is tough. I don't know. I think Zach Moss, you can consider him in like a dual flex as like a borderline flex play. I don't know. That's kind of where I'd stand on that.
And then Shane, you asked me this a few weeks ago, but are you ready to start Josh Downs now, even with Gardner Minshew? When Gardner Minshew went in that Baltimore game, Downs had 12 targets, 8 catches, and he finished with 13.7 PBR points. So,
yes, but it all comes down to what are your options, and I think like Josh Downs or Zach Moss in a flex. What would you do?
I'd go Downs. I'd go Downs. Let's go Downs easy.
Zach
Josh
Moss,
Downs or Elijah Moore?
Yeah,
Downs.
Josh Downs.
Yeah.
What about Josh Downs or Alexander Madison?
Probably Madison, right?
He's playing Chicago, so probably Madison.
Probably Madison. Yeah.
Josh Downs.
It comes down to really who your options are, but depending on how big your league is, I would definitely be willing to play Josh Downs.
Yeah.
For sure. He's got a sexy first name too. So
yeah, in our 12 team.
yeah,
in our 12-team league, I'm starting Josh Downs this week. So excited for him. We'll get on to the next one. The Commanders are going to go into Atlanta and play the Falcons. The Falcons are 2.5-point home favorites, and the Commanders' defense is just kind of a joke. Like I can't believe that performance they put out against the Bears. I know Thursday night games are weird and it could be fluky. Hopefully it is, but that game just really soured the Commanders on all fronts for me. It kind of soured me on Sam Howell too. That game just left a bad taste in my mouth. I'll just say that. So I am going to ride with the Falcons this week, coming off of a good win against the Texans. I think they're going to be able to run all over the Commanders defense, which is just soft apparently, even though they have a really good defensive line. So I don't really know what's up with the Commanders. I think Ron Rivera is as good of a guy he is. He probably isn't the move to be their coach right now. So I am just going to go with the Falcons. I think Ritter played well last week. So yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree. I'm also going to go with the Falcons. Ritter, he did look good. He did look good last week, and I think this is another game he could, do somewhat of the same thing. It was pretty interesting to see them actually get Kyle Pitts involved. It only took them 3 years, but hey, good for them. We'll see what they do going forward about that. But Bijan's he's all right. I'm just kidding. I was waiting for a Josh reaction. Bijan's great. On the other side of the ball, Terry McLaurin's definitely been pretty disappointing. I think the biggest disappointment is definitely the biggest is Jahan Dotson. I was pretty high on Jahan Dotson, but he's been totally irrelevant. So that's very disappointing. I think I don't know. I just got the Falcons this one. It's probably gonna be a pretty gross game, honestly.
One of our buddies last week, during the Commanders game versus the Bears, he sent a text and he's like, "It's making me feel really uncomfortable how much Sam Howell is spreading out the ball." Like it felt like a new receiver or Logan Thomas for whatever reason was catching the ball every single time, and Sam Howell really does spread it out, and which is kind of a good thing, but kind of a bad thing. It's a good talent to be a quarterback and be able to get it to all your weapons, but he's like very like evenly spreading the ball to like every receiver's like getting 1-2 targets. It was like even their back end roster guys were catching passes. So it's cool Sam Howell has trust to throw to everyone, but for fantasy reasons, you absolutely hate it as a Commanders wide receiver owner. And if the Commanders lose, Shane, we're calling them the Redskins. So.
Oh yeah, that's a new thing we've added to the podcast. When we're pissed at the Commanders, we're calling them the Redskins, and when they're good, we're calling them the Commanders.
I like it.
I guess I should have just started off with the Redskins.
Yeah, I would say the Redskins right now.
Well, did you see I don't know the correct term, but the group they said it was I don't know if they said it was racist or rude that they took away the Redskins name and the logo because the logo was some chief that was so basically those people are starting there's a whole thing with that. So I think they should still be the Redskins. We'll call them the Redskins when they lose this game.
Yeah, I like the Redskins better. I don't know. Yeah, they should be the Redskins, but when they're bad, we're calling them the Redskins because we're mad at them. And I'm not rolling with the Redskins. I'm going with the freaking Falcons right now. And Desmond Ridder throwing for 300 yards last week, proving me wrong. He looked like an NFL quarterback out there. He looked like a top 32 quarterback, maybe like number 32. But he did what he needed to do. Bijan in the run game is going to be electric this week against the Redskins defense, who has surprisingly not been that good. They absolutely let DJ Moore and the Bears torch them last week. So I think the Falcons might be in for a high scoring game, and I don't know. I think they'll roll over the Redskins in this one.
Yeah, you would want to think that, wouldn't you?
You know what? I have Bijan in like almost every fantasy league, so yes, and I have trust that he's going to score 30 points this week.
And it's me.
Going to get a rushing touchdown. It's not going to be a receiving touchdown. It's going to be a rushing.
Me versus Josh this week. So, and you know what? I think Alexander Madison's going to get a rushing touchdown this week. We can talk about him later. Let's move on to this next disgusting game.
Pretty toxic that you guys play each other, and yeah, we'll see if the Falcons can make them the Redskins this week. We'll move on to a blowout of a game, or I'll spoil it for you. The Panthers are going to go into Miami and play the Dolphins, who are 13.5-point favorites. It's probably too low. I think this is just going to be a copy and paste of the Dolphins versus Giants last week. So if you guys don't want to watch this, just go watch the Giants Dolphins, and it'll be the same thing.
I think that's a generous comparison. I was going to say this is going to be a Dolphins Broncos. Over under 49.5 points for the Dolphins.
I'm gonna go. They're gonna put in their backups in the second quarter, so I'm gonna go 40 points.
No, they're not. No team would ever do that.
they might be up that much going into the maybe second half. 20 points for the first two quarters, and then maybe they score like 6. So 46. I'm going. Okay,
I think it's just going to come down to garbage time for the Miles Sanders, the Adam Thielen, the Jonathan Mingo. It's just going to be garbage time. And you got to hope your guys like Waddle and Tyreek and Mostert get their work in the first half, because it could get ugly.
Yeah.
Is Miles Sanders fully healthy?
No, he didn't practice on Wednesday.
Yeah, don't like that, because I don't want Laviska Shenault splitting carries with Miles Sanders and Chuba, so I don't like
that. Yeah, start Thielen and that's it. That's probably it.
Yeah, Thielen will be the first option, so he might get some PPR points, but it's going to be hard for the Panthers to move the ball even. I think this is just going to be a really rough one, and we should probably move on.
Moving on.
Another gross game.
Yeah. Go watch it. And with that, we'll get on to the next game. The Vikings are going to go into Chicago and play the Bears. The Vikings are 2.5-point road favorites, and the Bears are starting to look better. Hopefully they can keep the upward trajectory going on offense without Khalil Herbert, who was playing really well. Hopefully they can keep it going with Roshan Johnson, who might not even play, he's in the concussion protocol, and Deontay Foreman. Hopefully he can kind of get involved finally. But the Vikings are also looking better. They obviously lost Justin Jefferson, which is an insanely terrible loss for them. It's going to be hard for them to even keep their heads in invested in this game. So I don't know. It's going to be a hard one. It's two bottom feeders of the NFC North. So I don't know who I'm picking yet.
Hopefully this can just turn into a shootout. We've seen with what the Bears offense can do. It's going to be tough. Kirk he doesn't have his guy Jettas anymore, but he had almost a 30% target share. That's a lot of targets that's going to have to be spread out now among those the rest of those receivers. Obviously, Jordan Addison's going to see a bump. Obviously, TJ Hawkinson. I think Alexander Madison will see a little bit of a bump, but also KJ Osborne. Everyone's going to take a little bump up, especially in this matchup. This is a great matchup for all these Vikings. I think especially me personally, as an Alexander Madison manager, it's been kind of a roller coaster. It's been a little bit frustrating, especially with the Cam Akers edition. But he's still getting the volume. He's still, I don't want to say very efficient, but he's still more efficient than people are giving him credit for. If you really watch the game and look at the numbers, it's just the fumbles. The fumbles kill him. That's just when he gets benched. But I do think he doesn't have a rushing touchdown yet this year. I'm going to give Alexander Madison a rushing touchdown guarantee this week.
Wow. That's bold. That's bold.
I'm going to go. This is the week that Cam Akers.
I was just going to say that.
The RB1 role right here. Sorry
I was just going to say that.
Bubble, Shane. But
let's just say you want that to happen.
Yeah, I do. Can't lie. It's a big rivalry week. Me and Shane are going at it. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath. I can guarantee it.
It's going to be like an 84 to 96 finish. It's going to be so disappointing.
Probably, but hopefully I'm the 96 and you're the 84.
Hey, hopefully.
And let's see. I'm gonna roll with the Bears in this one. I'm gonna say the Bears, and I'm gonna be confident because I think with how DJ Moore and Justin Fields are playing, they're just gonna keep rolling. I don't think the Vikings are gonna stop them. I think you saw Keenan Allen have a freaking 200-yard game against the Vikings a couple weeks ago. I think DJ Moore is going to pick up where Keenan Allen left off, and I think they're going to feast. And I don't know, it's hard for the Vikings to find a reason to play for it. I mean, at this point, the soul just seems sucked out of that organization. Losing Jettis was like the final straw, and I think it's just going to be a brutal game for them. And I think the Bears, coming off of their first win since October of last year, they want to keep that train rolling, and they're going to come in here playing with their hats on fire, and big week for DJ Moore fantasy owners. So get ready. We're gonna like it.
If you can't tell which one of us have which players, maybe listen again. I got the Vikings in this one. It doesn't feel right saying that coming off of what the Bears did, but I just think the Vikings are a slightly better team. I don't know. Hopefully it's just a good game.
Like Shane said, it doesn't feel right at all. The vibes with the Vikings are pretty terrible. Like it feels like they couldn't even get worse at all. But I'm going to go the Vikings. They have more star power, and Kirk Cousins, if he loses this game, then he should either retire or leave, because that would be just rough. So I just trust Kirk to pull this one out.
What fantasy rank is Kirk Cousins right now? Because he was like for first 3 or 4 weeks he was quarterback number one.
Yeah.
And did you say Justin Fields?
He's number 2. He's number 2 right now.
Wow. Oh, so Kirk is number 2 and Justin Fields is actually number 3. Wow. So fantasy quarterbacks 2 and 3 right now going at it. So hopefully we do get a big high scoring game, because that would make this game pretty entertaining.
Yeah, we've got a fantasy juggernaut of a matchup here. Just a electric firework game.
Low key, we kind of do. Like, there's a lot of fantasy implications, like a lot of fantasy players in this game, relevant ones.
I think there will be a lot of points scored too.
There's
Cole
Three.
Kmet looking like a real tight end 1 too. I think he's like fantasy tight end like 3. Sorry to cut you off, Shane, but
No, you're good. No, it's true. I was just gonna say there's 3 legit startable fantasy options on the Bear side: DJ Moore, Justin Fields, Cole Kmet, and then Vikings. You got Addison. Who was that? 4, 5. Addison, Osborne, Madison, Cousins, Hawkinson. 5. There's 8. There's 8 startable fantasy, and even though this is a gross matchup, there's a lot of implications in this when it comes to fantasy.
you know what's crazy? Sam Laporta is tight end number 1. Cole Kmet is tight end number 4. What the hell's happening?
What's Hawkins?
Hawkinson, I think, is
You got to be top 5.
Sure.
Hawkinson is 3.
Okay. Wow.
I know
Kelsey
Kelsey's
North eating.
Wait, so goes Laporta, Kelsey, Hawkinson, Kmet. If you had told me Sam Laporta and Cole Kmet were going to be top 5 through week 6, I would have just been confused.
NFC North is low key eating.
Just weird. The vibes with tight end this year is an absolute disaster. It's awful. Even Kelsey's having a really bad down year so far. Hopefully for Dan's sake he picks it up, but tight ends this year are an absolute disaster class.
Yeah, and Hawkinson is going to go so crazy the next few weeks without Jefferson. So I really envy you, Hawkinson owners, because I don't even think that you could trade for him at this point. He's going to go off. But we'll get on to the next one. The Patriots are going to go into Vegas and play the Raiders. Very gross. The Raiders are 3-point home favorites, and it's a nasty Jimmy G and Josh McDaniels and Jacoby Myers revenge game. So that'll be interesting to see that. And it feels like the Raiders are home every week too. I don't know why, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see this one in Vegas. I feel like the Patriots and Raiders have a lot of connections, and yeah, this is, with how bad the Patriots were last week, I've kind of lost all hope in their defense and offense, and I don't really have trust that they can hold the Raiders stars in check. I don't really trust the Patriots anymore. They're not the same old Patriots.
No, the Patriots are an absolute dumpster fire joke. It's terrible. They're terrible to watch. Mac Jones is absolutely atrocious. It's pathetic. I honestly think Bill Belichick he's got to hang it up. He's got to move on, retire, or coach a new team. It's the Patriots. They got to just completely tear it down. Their defense is usually it's their defense that's kind of like the staple. Lately, not usually, obviously with Tom Brady, but lately without Tom Brady, it's like their defense has been their go-to. They're kind of saving grace, but their defense is a joke right now. Obviously, their offense is still a joke.
Would you blame it on the defense, or would you blame it on Mac Jones? I feel like Mac Jones has turned over the ball in the red zone and so many touchdowns off pick sixes. So it's just like, is the defense that bad, or is it just play of the offense?
You have to blame it. I think it's just 50-50. The last 2 weeks, 38-3 and a 34 zip. I mean, that's both sides of the ball. No one's scoring, and it's 30+ point games.
I would say 50-52 because this just hasn't been the same run defense for the Patriots. Their secondary is still good, but with Gonzalez going down, J.C. Jackson's not going to be the same. So it isn't the same Patriots defense, even if it is coached by Bill Belichick.
Yeah, my gut is telling me to not go with the Patriots, but I can't see Bill Belichick losing 3 games in a row. I mean, this is like, I think it's also really fireable offense for Bill Belichick to lose 3 games in a row, and against a Raiders who just aren't that impressive, and Josh McDaniels, who, I mean, I feel like Bill Belichick should be able to coach circles around Josh McDaniels. I mean, Josh McDaniels,
he will, but Mac Jones will absolutely implode on the field.
That's true. I'm gonna go with the Patriots. I am. I think it'll be a bounce back week. I don't think it's gonna be pretty, but I think there's no way Bill Belichick will allow himself and his team to lose 3 weeks in a row. There's just no way. And these Patriots better come in playing with their freaking heads on fire, because I mean, this is for their jobs at this point. This is for everyone's jobs, and they better come in here and beat the Raiders. They better.
I think the ultimate question is kind of if Max Crosby is going to be able to affect and just ruin Mac Jones's confidence like he did with Jordan Love and kind of throw him off. I think that's kind of what's going to decide this game. And I'm just gonna pick the Raiders. I think Jimmy will have a somewhat serviceable game at home, and coming off the win on Monday night, it's ugly, it's nasty. But I'm gonna go with the Raiders. The Patriots have been pissing me off.
Bailey Zappi will be in at quarterback by the fourth quarter.
Might help them win. We'll see.
He should be in for the start of this game.
Oh, geez. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty gross game, to be honest. I'm
That's
not
gonna
sure
be-
if I'm going to be paying attention too much to this one. Maybe just watch some gross highlights after.
And I'm sorry, Ramondre owners. I'm sorry, man. I traded him away. I'm sorry for Ramondre owners. It feels like there's nothing you can even do at this point. Hopefully he does end the season well and bounce back, but it's so rough, man. It's depressing, really.
It's very depressing. I was very high on him, and let's just say I'm so happy I didn't end up getting him in our drafts.
Well, Patriots just whole offense in general might be the worst talent in the NFL. If we're being completely honest, their offense is absolutely atrocious. Their wide receiver core is
The worst in the
it's
NFL.
the worst. Yeah, the wide receiver core is by far, and I don't even think the margin is necessarily close. They are so bottom tier of wide receivers that it's pathetic. I don't know how any team could construct a roster with this bad of receivers. It's pathetic. It really is.
I know how. It's because you have to pay 4 tight ends with the way they construct their roster. They have to have 90 tight ends that are starting worthy.
Yeah. I mean, I know. Yeah, they go and spend all their money on Jonnu Smith a couple of years ago on Hunter Henry, and then spend their money this offseason on Mike Gesicki. It's weird. It's so weird. It's so weird. Maybe invest in a true wide receiver one for your quarterback because it's pathetic.
All right. Well, we'll get on to the next one. The Lions are going to go into Tampa Bay and play the Buccaneers. The Lions are 3.5-point favorites, and the Lions have just been a really good surgical. They've been one of the hotter teams in the NFL, really. They've just been playing good on all ends of the football. And one thing that'll make this game pretty hard to pick for me is the Buccaneers are going to be in their creamsicle uniforms, and it's going to be a beautiful orange aesthetic in Tampa. So that changes things for me. It's going to be a close one. I think Tampa's been playing everyone tough, and obviously Detroit has as well. And I did want to shout out Alex Anzalone real quick, this man on the left. He deserves a shout out just for playing so good for the Lions and kind of making it so they can't even put their first round pick Jack Campbell on the field, and Malcolm Rodriguez is barely getting playing time too. So shout out to Anzalone. He's been the star of their defense, and their defense has been really good. So it's going to be a good close game.
I do think this is going to be a good game. The 43.5 over under. I feel like I would want to take the over on that. The Lions. I mean, I was back and forth. I think the Bucs have looked really good this year. I think Baker Mayfield. I was I don't want to say hater, but I always thought Baker Mayfield was not good. I think he's looked awesome this year. He seems like a great fit for this offense, and I wanted to pick the Buccaneers, but the Lions just seem unstoppable right now with just the way their offense is. Jared Goff is playing super great football. A lot of fantasy implications in this one as well. It's going to be fun. Big question mark is if Mike Evans is going to be good to go.
This is gonna be an exciting game. And I do think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think it's gonna be a shootout for sure. I think Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield are just gonna be airing it out, especially if Mike Evans plays. I think he'd be in for a big game. And yeah, I honestly just ultimately think this one turns into a shootout, and this is actually gonna be a pretty fun game. However, I'm rolling with the Lions, of course. They're too good. They've been playing so solid. I think they're honestly, you can consider them one of the scarier teams in the NFL to play right now. They've beaten some good level of talent, and on all cylinders they're rolling. I mean, offense, special teams, defense. I mean, everything looks solid and good. And Jared Goff's playing a good brand of football, and I think they'll go in here, and it's going to be a close game, but I think they ultimately will beat the Bucs.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Lions as well. They're just rolling, man. They're too solid. So it looks like we've all got the Lions. And Shane, what is Mike Evans' situation? How I thought he was for surely not going to play this week.
We don't know yet. Todd Bowles said he'll have more of an idea on Friday. Today, Mike Evans was out on the sidelines at practice, doing stuff with the trainers. It's only Wednesday. It's still early. So I think today, when this comes out on Thursday and Friday, we'll learn a lot more.
Yeah, stay monitored with that situation.
I'm watching you guys just fall asleep in your chairs right now. Wake up, boys. We're going all night.
Late night pod time. But yeah, I think Godwin will have a good game regardless. I think they'll want to involve Godwin a lot in the slot. So I think Godwin's gonna
I
have a good game, but the Lions are gonna.
I hope Mike Evans plays because this could be a monster game for him.
Yeah.
Mike Evans tears the ACL in the second play, maybe.
You're an asshole.
That's just rude. But we'll get on to the next game. The Cardinals are going to go into LA and play the Rams, and the Rams are 7-point home favorites. And I just want to talk about the Rams. They've been just so good. They've been playing every team really close. They've just been such a surprise. And honestly, the Cardinals have been a big surprise too. I feel like both of these teams look so much better than anyone could have ever really dreamed of. For the Cardinals and Rams, they were kind of projected to be the two worst teams in the NFL. I think me and Josh were also victims of that. I think they were the two lowest teams in our power rankings heading into the season. So it's just crazy. They're like, honestly, shout out to the Rams and Cardinals. They're playing really hard. Their stars are playing good. Aaron Donald's looking like the best player in the NFL, like he is. So it's crazy stuff. And I love what I'm seeing from the Rams, especially. They're really fun to watch. Their offense is awesome. Stafford is playing like his Super Bowl season. So it's actually a pretty fun divisional matchup.
I just want to say one thing. I know Josh noticed in our notes that I had the Bucks written down. That's because I literally said I was so back and forth, and I had the Bucks at first, but I switched to Lions, but I forgot to take it out and put the Lions.
Stick with your gut, man. Stick with your gut.
It's going to be the Lions, but the Cardinals, they've been so surprising, and they're Josh Dobbs. I mean, good for him. That's he's been playing really well. This
He
game
broke my heart last week.
Good. You deserve it. Yeah, he was disappointed last week. I think this Rams wide receiver core is outrageous. It's crazy. It's was Cooper Kupp limited at all last week, or was he a full go last week?
He wasn't really limited. He lead the team and first look targets, and yeah, he looked pretty good. He looked ready, and I don't even think he looked injured at all.
I do fear, as someone going against Cooper Kupp this week, that this is going to be a 40 plus point Cooper Kupp performance. Like, seriously,
it feels like it. It feels like
it does feel like that, but also it feels like a Nico Collins 40 plus point. Anyway, no, this game, I think it's gonna be closer than people might think. The Rams are gonna win, but I think this should be a pretty good game.
I kind of agree. I think it is going to be a weirdly like close game because I feel like these two teams like skill level like match up against each other like pretty well. However, I think the Rams are just a little too solid with their wide receiver core. It's just too on fire, and I think they'll just ultimately outscore the Cardinals. But yeah, Josh Dobbs and and Hollywood Brown and the Cardinals are they're playing good. They're playing better than what their roster says. And I remember going through, Dan, way back in freaking, May or whatever, when we were going through these rosters, we were laughing. We were literally laughing at these rosters. I was going through the Rams defense and laughing because I don't even know who half the guys were.
I vividly remember we were laughing our asses off looking at these two teams' rosters. I remember you said Russ Yeast. Like, who is Russ? What is a Russ Yeast? And Russ Yeast has actually been holding off your boy Josh Johnson. Johnson hasn't even gone onto the field because Yeast is playing pretty good. So it's crazy stuff, man.
Props to the GMs for finding these no-name guys who are coming in here and playing solid football. And, a lot of these guys who are bottom end roster dudes, when they play harder than anyone. So, they're fighting for their lives out there. And you can see, I mean, these guys are all looking to make a roster spot, looking to, prolong their careers, either on these teams or somewhere else. And, props to them. I mean, these teams are outplaying what they should be doing. But however, in these two, I think the Rams are just a little bit better.
Yeah, I have to go with the Rams as well. I love what their young talent is doing. Their rookies are playing really good. Byron Young, Kobe Turner, just great defensive linemen. And yeah, just love what I'm seeing from the Rams on pretty much all aspects of things. And for the Cardinals, it sucks that James Conner got hurt, but you love what you're seeing from Josh Dobbs. He really is giving me like Geno Smith vibes, and it feels like he could have these type of seasons for a few more years.
And then do we think who's wide receiver one in the Rams offense?
It's Kupp. I was giving you a hard time, but it's Kupp. But Puka and Tutu are gonna get targets no matter what. Sean McVay really likes them, and Puka and Tutu. Obviously, everyone's been talking about Puka. He's the zone He's like Cooper Kupp. They're the same player. They're both the two smartest receivers at getting open and finding the open spaces in the zones. But don't sleep on Tutu Atwell as well. He's just kind of surprised everyone as a second round pick, and he's been a great route runner, great hands. He's just been great. So this receiving trio is fun.
Yeah, I had to say that on the pod because I needed to get Dan's honest opinion. So I'm glad we got that cleared up.
Yeah, my honest opinion is the Rams receiver trio is awesome with Stafford still playing at a really high level, and I'm happy Van Jefferson's gone. But we'll get on to the next game. The Eagles are going to go into New York and play the Jets, who are coming off a win. The Eagles are 7-point road favorites, and this will be interesting. I do think Jalen Carter has himself a pretty legendary game. I think he's just been balling. He's been kind of carrying the Eagles defense. He's been the star of the defense, and he's just been insane. Darius Slay's looked a little bit rough, so I think Garrett Wilson will be able to get his a little bit, and he'll probably take some slants pretty far. And then I don't know how Breece Hall will do against the Eagles defense. It's going to be really interesting to see how Breece Hall does going against the worst run defense with the Broncos compared to the Eagles, who have like the best run defense I've ever seen. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Jets offense fares, but this Eagles team is undefeated and rolling.
I could see this game either being super, super high scoring or very low scoring, like a 21-14 type thing. I guess it's not crazy low scoring, but I can see it going either way. The Eagles are going to win this game. Hopefully we get a good game. It's, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. I guess that's really it. Those three, they're probably going to have some struggles in this game, unless we've seen some down games from Devonta Smith the last couple of weeks. It could be time for him to turn it up, and then we see a down game from AJ Brown for selfish reasons. Hopefully that's not the case. And Dallas Goedert, I think if you have Dallas Goedert, I would sell high, especially before this game against the Jets. Well, maybe not, because I guess they're not great against the tight ends. But after last week, what he did, I would look into selling high on Goddard. On the other side of the ball, it's the Eagles secondary isn't great, so Garrett Wilson should have a okay game, assuming Zach can actually get the ball off before he gets touched by Jalen Carter. I think that's just going to be the biggest question, is if Zach can throw the ball, and if he doesn't get sacked more than 1,000 times.
Feels like a game that Sauce is going to lock up AJ Brown.
Yeah, you would want that. You would want that.
All jokes aside, Eagles should take care of business pretty easy in this one. I don't think the Jets passing offense is going to really do much. It's going to be a one-man crew with Breece Hall, and I'm pretty sure the Eagles are just going to send blitzes, and they're gonna load the box, and it's just going to be a rough game for the Jets offense. However, I do think the Jets defense will actually play pretty well. I think they'll keep it a lower scoring game. I don't know how much the Jets offense will score. I think it just depends if Breece Hall is a superhuman and can, do something magical. But it's just the Eagles are too good, and they'll roll them over. I think it's, the Jets are riding a high off of that Broncos game, but I think they forget the Broncos were the worst defense in the NFL right now. And, now they're actually playing a pretty relevant defense. And I don't know, these Eagles and their coaching staff and everything, I think they're just better on every cylinder. And it should be a pretty good game outside of AJ Brown going against Sauce.
Yeah, I do fear that the Jets' ceiling is that 31 points that they did score against the Broncos. I feel like that's just their absolute ceiling. They kind of had some breaks in that game with some muff punts and some fumbles. So I don't really trust the Jets to just be able to score with this high-powered offense at the end of the day, and the Eagles' offense is going to get theirs. And how are you guys feeling about the Eagles running back situation real quick? Obviously, it's just kind of looking like Gainwell's kind of lost that job after getting injured and winning the job all offseason. And then he gets injured for 1 week, and Swift goes in and swoops it. So it's crazy, man.
It is pretty wild. It looked like it was going to be Gainwell's job, and then Swift, I don't know, has looked great, and it doesn't look like they're going to be going away from him anytime soon.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like the Eagles' offensive line is going to allow them to go away from him, because they're just going to open up gaping holes the size of a country. But We'll get on to the Sunday night football game. The Giants are going to go into Buffalo and play the Bills, who are 14-point favorites, and I think the Giants are kind of getting into that bottom feeder category, that Caleb category, that could be the worst team in the NFL right now. It's kind of how they're playing, and this is the Brian Daboll revenge game, but I don't really trust him to scheme up anything.
The Bills did just lose to the Jaguars.
Yeah, but the Jaguars are a good team. I don't really think that the Giants could keep this one close. I think the 14-point spread is fair. I mean, the return of Saquon could be good. I feel like Saquon will have a good game. The Bills' run defense hasn't been great.
They've had some pretty significant injuries. Matt Milano.
Matt Milano going out for season is hurts like hell. And I like Josh. We'll go to you real quick. Like Dorian Williams, your boy, is going to have to step in for Matt Milano, probably out for season. So, do you think Dorian's going to be ready out of Tulane?
I'm not worried about Dorian Williams. He's going to step in and look great. The dude's one of the better, was one of the better passing linebackers coming in this draft class, and I'm super excited. I think the Bills' defense will be just fine. I know there's a lot of injuries, and it was kind of overwhelming last week traveling to London and going against the Jags, who had been in London already, which kind of seemed a little unfair in all honesty. But the Bills, this is like Josh Allen week 1 against the Jets. Now he's pissed. Now the Bills are just going to absolutely go off, and they're going to murder the Giants.
They are. The Bills are going to go off.
Sad. It's going to be sad. I feel bad for the Giants. We were kind of hyping up Danny Jones a little bit in the offseason. Hype's kind of died. Daboll they just can't figure it out. I mean, this team seemed like they had so much hype and hope coming on from last season where they looked good. And I don't know what happened. They've completely had a meltdown and completely have fallen apart this season. And the offense without Saquon, who's been injured, is just absolutely disgusting and flat, and they just can't even move the ball. And I don't really think they have their offensive line they've invested a lot into. They don't have a horrible receiving core, given they don't really have any superstar. But I don't know. They got Darren Waller, who should have been a big upgrade at the tight end position. They just haven't been impressive at all. And it's just the Giants have been super, super disappointing. Well, probably one of my most disappointing teams this year.
Easily.
Yeah, I think you said it. Bills are going to have a big game, and that big game, it's going to go through Stephon Diggs. And
20 points, real quick. Over 20 fantasy points for Stephon Diggs. I think that's a pretty good line in this game.
Under. He's going to get locked down.
Okay, now if you weren't going against him with me, what would you do?
Oh, he'd probably score 40.
Yeah, okay. I'm taking over. I think he's going to have 25 plus. Stephon Diggs had the Bills in general had a down game last week, and Stephon still at 24. I think Stephon, truly, bias aside, he's on my team. My team is what's my team name?
It's called something Diggs.
Snoop Diggity Diggs.
Snoop Diggity Diggs.
All bias aside, I think Stephon Diggs is going to go berserk on the other side of the ball. Cat's out the bag. I also have Darren Waller. It's probably going to be pretty disappointing. Personally, I hope Daniel Jones sits this one with that neck injury, because when Tyrod Taylor came in, he was targeting the hell out of Darren Waller. So that would be huge, but we'll see.
Can I just bring up real quick? Oh, sorry.
Lock up.
He's saying.
I just want to bring up, like, speaking of Stephon Diggs, I want to bring up last week, him throwing the iPad, getting pissed off, and then going out there, and Josh Allen throws it up to him, and it's him one-on-one with Kader Kohu, 5'5", and he gets mossed by 5'5" Kader Kohu.
Well,
so I do want to mention that.
That was weird, because, like, watching that live, I was like, oh my gosh, he's caught a bomb. And then when they both went down with it, Kader Kohu just out-muscled him.
Wait, it's not Kader Kohu. Kader Kohu's on the Dolphins.
Oh, wait. Oh, they played the Jaguars. Who was it? It was Darius Williams, right?
Yeah, Darius
Darius Williams.
Whoever it was just out-muscled the hell out of him.
Yeah. Very short.
They both caught the ball.
Yeah, it was Darius Williams. He actually had a heck of a game. He's looking like an absolute dog out there.
Side note, Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell are balling for the Jaguars. Their defense has actually been pretty good. But yeah, we all got the Bills in this one. You probably don't have to watch this one on Sunday night.
Moving on.
Unless you like watching murder. We'll get on to the Monday night football game. This probably is the best matchup of the week.
The graphic.
I did this graphic for stores. It's probably the biggest storyline. It's the Kellen Moore revenge game. So we got Mike McCarthy's Cowboys going into LA and playing Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley's Chargers on Monday Night Football. The Cowboys are 2.5-point road favorites. And yeah, before I let Josh talk, I'm just going to talk about real quick how Mike McCarthy scapegoated Kellen Moore this offseason after being the number one team in red zone efficiency last season, the number one offense in red zone efficiency, and he scapegoated Kellen Moore for not being efficient enough in the red zone and not scoring enough and not running the ball enough. Even though Mike McCarthy apparently doesn't want to run the ball, he got mad at Kellen Moore for not running the ball enough, and Mike McCarthy's going to go in and not run the ball. So yeah, just terrible, Mike McCarthy, and I'll let Drop talk.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, the Cowboys got absolutely embarrassed last week. I just want to say one little thing. I was watching one of my favorite podcasts earlier this week, and it was kind of weird. They had such a negative outlook towards the Chargers in this revenge game. They're like, it would be crazy for a Chargers fan to say the Chargers are actually going to beat the Cowboys, which is really strange. So it kind of made me like rethink everything. But then I was thinking, and given they'd recorded this before, I think it was before Sunday Night Football, before that game, the 49ers and the Cowboys. And then after I watched that game, I was like, no, the Cowboys look kind of like a disaster in that, and their weaknesses kind of got exposed, given that they played the best team in the NFL. I think this game is going to be incredibly close. I think Kellen Moore is going to come out here with a vengeance, and I think he's going to want to light up the scoreboard. And then on the other side, I think Mike McCarthy is going to want to run the ball and give, the Chargers' run defense actually hasn't been that bad this year, and they struggle in the passing game. And that's what the Cowboys been I mean, the Cowboys just kind of seem like their offense has just kind of not found a rhythm yet, and they've just really been lost without Kellen Moore. But it's their defense is so good. I mean, I think the storyline outside of Kellen Moore is going to be the Chargers offense versus the Cowboys defense. I think that's just going to be the whole matchup, the whole game to watch, and it's going to be exciting. But however, I wouldn't be a Chargers fan if I didn't ride with my boys, and I think Kellen Moore is just going to have a hell of a game plan. I think Justin Herbert's going to come out here on a primetime game and just light up the scoreboard, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys, now that we're playing actual competition, they're going to get exposed. I got the Chargers in this one, and just restores his mental health.
The Cowboys versus good teams is a scary thing. The Cowboys versus good teams, as we've seen, is a pretty scary thing over the last few years. It's been consistent. So the Chargers are a good team. They've got a really good roster. Khalil Mack's coming off a pretty legendary performance. The Chargers are coming off a bye week, so they should be
getting healthy too. Getting healthy. Austin Eckler's back. Derwin James should be back. So that's huge too.
Yeah. Eckler will be a big, honestly, game changer, X factor in this game. And something to mention, like you said, the thing to watch for in this game is the Cowboys defense versus the Chargers offense. And Trayvon Diggs and Mike Williams won't be in this game. So that's two big losses for both these teams. Keenan Allen's probably going to ball out. Eckler, I'm sure, is going to absolutely ball out. And so
I think Justin Herbert's going to have a massive game.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. I don't know if you're like jinxing it, so I'm going to knock on the hard wood and say
Take it for what you will.
But
I think Herbert will have a good game.
In my opinion, I don't know why, but I'm feeling like this is an Eckler game. I feel like Eckler is just going to go insane. I feel like he's going to be catching a lot of screen passes. I feel like it's a 3 TD game for Eckler, maybe 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. And I feel like it's going to be a big game, but I'm also terrified of Micah Parsons, and I do not want him to hurt my boy. So I hope he goes against Rashawn Slater all game. I think Rashawn Slater's pretty much, he locks up anyone. Doesn't matter. He's locked up Myles Garrett, Chase Young, any name. So hopefully he's on that side of the ball. Hopefully they don't line Micah Parsons up against Trey Pipkins. If so, it might be a long night.
DeMarcus Lawrence is on the other side, has been insane this year. Like, he's looking like he hasn't taken a step down. He's been the best run defender in the NFL, and he's looked pretty good as a pass rusher too. So that's pretty scary too.
Yeah, the Cowboys defense is terrifying. Their edge rushers are absolutely terrifying, and they create turnovers, which scares me too. So we'll see. Herbert's taking pretty good care of the ball this year. He's only had 1 turnover all season, so we'll see. It's crazy.
Hot Dan take real quick. I think Tony Pollard and Eckler will finish as the top 2 running backs in fantasy this week, and they're playing as the last 2 running backs in fantasy. So it's gonna mess up a lot of fantasy games, and they're gonna win a lot of games for teams.
I think CD gets back on track too. I think it's a big game for CD as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Justin Herbert has 50+ points.
Probably.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I don't know what Shane's doing. But he's trying to put some weird voodoo in the air, and it's freaking me out.
Just try to do some reverse psychology out into the universe right now, but
He's throwing this out in the universe. It's getting me excited, but I feel like now he's jinxing it.
And one last Mike McCarthy rant real quick is just why are you not feeding CD more? He is obviously the star in your offense that is the thing that gets your offense going. You need to feed CD way more. You got to stop sharing the targets around. And another note is Jake Ferguson looks pretty incredible. I don't know what you're doing drafting Luke Schoonmaker in the second round when you already knew that you had a Dalton Schultz replacement and clone in Jake Ferguson, but whatever.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy is the crutch to the Cowboys, and we said this all offseason. With this talented of a roster, it's sad that they probably should have just promoted Kellen Moore to head coach and fired McCarthy, and that probably would have been the best thing for this team, and kept Dan Quinn as defensive coordinator.
Yeah. I for one reason and one reason I am going to take the Chargers, and that one reason is because of Mike McCarthy. So thank you, Mike McCarthy, and I'm picking Josh's team, and we've all got the Chargers sweeping him.
Yes, sir.
Big game from the kid from Eugene.
Yes, sir. Chargers are going to win this one. We don't even have to watch it. That's how confident we are.
Maybe the game with the most fantasy implications is going to be the last game of the week. So it's going to be really fun. Watch this game. It's going to be an electric game with two of the best teams in the NFL. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. We've got our week 5 recap episode up. And yeah, stay tuned to the NFL Seekers. Like, subscribe, and thanks for joining us.
Peace.
Peace.